The first city walls of what is today known as Huesca were built by the Iberians. They called it Bolscan, occupying the area known as the Casco Viejo. We'll get to know the history of the entire region, La Hoya de Huesca, and we'll show how, over the centuries, its inhabitants have left their mark, an indelible mark that shows who they were, and giving an idea of all they can be. But the Iberians were not the first to arrive. Before them, ancient peoples lived in the region of La Hoya de Huesca. They all left their mark: tools, paintings, ceramics, megaliths. There are remains dating back to the Paleolithic era. However, the most notable moment in ancient times occurred at the peak of the Iberian civilization, the Roman occupation, when the city began to take its current urban shape and was given the Latin name Osca. Osca was founded by Quintus Sertorius, the Roman general of the late Republic, in the 1st century BC. He created a famous school attended by the children of the main Iberian families. In memory of this school, the University of Huesca was named Sertoriana, founded in the 14th century. He also coined money, recognizable by a rider with a spear, eventually becoming part of Huesca's coat of arms. But the most significant of Roman vestige is its public works, roads and aqueducts that were connected with names of numbers like Nueno, Sietamo, Tiers, and Quisena. After the Romans, the Visigoths brought the Middle Ages. From this time, the territory was organized into bishoprics, and with it, the origins of the monasteries. These were kept alive when they were later revered as hermitages. Thus began the Muslim era, with notable defensive castles. Huesca was Muslim until it was taken by the Christians around the year 714, following the Battle of Alcaraz, in which King Peter I conquered the city. There still remains part of the wall that surrounded the old city, especially visible in the north of the city. The 11th century was a period of splendor for the Monte Aragon Abbacy, as much for the military order as the land-owning nobles. All this whilst continuing the conquest of territory and populations under Muslim influence. Medieval centuries continued to the end of the 15th century, with land possession being hotly disputed. However, Christians, Jews and Muslims appeared to have lived in harmony in a time which saw the birth of the University of Huesca by a decree signed by Peter IV in 1354. The 11th and 12th centuries, and until the start of the 13th century, correspond to the birth and full expansion of a peculiar artistic style extended throughout these Huescan lands, Romanesque. This event has left a long list of examples in La Hoya de Huesca, both religious and military architecture. One can still find plenty of churches and chapels scattered throughout the region, as well as numerous castles, among which the Loari, the best example of military architecture of its time in Europe, is preserved in its entirety, not to mention the unique blend of civil and military style of the Royal Palace of Huesca, which is now part of the City Museum. The next historical period is the Gothic, from which La Hoya treasures some excellent samples. Especially in its early stages, such as the initial constructions by new postulates, whose architecture add a unique and exceptional component, the Franco-Gothic mural collections of the late 13th and early 14th centuries. This collection of unique features were added to other buildings of great value, among which the Cathedral of Huesca stands out. The Loari bell tower suggests a new style, Renaissance. Among all these different artistic styles merging into one another, there remain only a few but precious samples of the Mudéjar style. The great splendor of the 17th and 18th centuries was motivated by the construction of new religious buildings throughout the region and, above all, the active intellectual life of the city of Huesca. These were the zenith years of the Lastanosa family, patrons and collectors of art and books. As the centuries passed by, the 19th century saw wars fought against the French and the Carlists, as well as the first social unrest by the end of that century. These years brought an industrial upturn which continued for much of the 20th century, a key role being played by the arrival of the railway. Thus we arrive at a significant stage in the recent history of these lands. These are the years of the dictatorship of Primo de Rivera, the Second Republic and the Civil War, with the famous siege of the city of Huesca and the tragic events at the nearby Straits of Quinto, and various incidents with prominent individuals such as Raymond Asin or George Orwell. These years saw the construction of buildings such as the Huesca Casino, outstanding artists such as Ramon Asin for his pajaritas, bows, in Huesca's Miguel Servet Park, or towards the end of the 20th century and the dawning of the 21st, prominent figures like Antonio Saura with his piece Elegy, at Huesca Town Hall, art centres such as Sedan, and his landscape project going by the name of Art and Nature, or newly constructed buildings like the Congress Centre, Palacio de Congresos de Huesca. This is the history of La Hoya de Huesca. All those who have lived here have contributed to its enrichment, leaving their mark. Because this story doesn't end here.